Trilogy fight. Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. Boy, was this one good. Boy, was this one good. And mind you, whenever you hear the term trilogy, there are expectations that come with that. Major expectations. Because if you're going to pay to watch the same two guys fight for a third time in a major event like this, understandably, you're going to have expectations. And fortunately, historically, these third fights typically deliver. Not always, but typically, because not every fight is worthy of a trilogy, but the ones that are deliver absolutely. Arturo Gatti and Mickey Ward, 3 fights in a 13-month span. In 2013, Gatti ended up winning via unanimous decision that year. Riddick Bowe and Evander Holyfield was a tremendous one in 1995, tremendous trilogy. You had Marco Antonio Barrera versus Eric Morales in 2004. And what was special about that Barrera won was these were 2 Mexican fighters that truly despised one another. And then, of course, Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier in 1975. That Muhammad Ali ended up winning. But the thing that the thing that unites all of them was the natural disdain that they had for one another. And there's certain fights that you look forward to because of kind of the novelty of the matchup. There are others that you look forward to because of the buildup and the height and the promoting aspect of things. And there's certain fights you look forward to because of the sheer magnitude and size of the individuals fighting. And to me, that's the reason why the heavyweight titles, and this was a WBC heavyweight title match, rubber match. That's what makes those fights in particular additionally special. And kind of group them and categorize them in a class all by themselves is because of the behemoths of the individuals that are fighting. These are legitimate giants in the ring. These are legitimate giants fighting in the ring. And there aren't any height or weight contours. Anything goes. Anything goes. And here you've got one gargantuan of a man in Tyson Fury, who's 6'9", 280 pounds. Think about that. That's like LeBron James fighting in the ring, but a LeBron James with an additional 30 pounds, 25, 30 pounds. That's Tyson Fury. His name is an onomatopoeia. You hear the word Tyson Fury, you just think you're going to get smacked in the face, that he's about to unload some furious rage out on you. And his counterpart, who we view as a small guy compared to Tyson Fury, is a guy in Deontay Wilder who's 6'7" and a roughly 240 pounds. So entering this contest, you had Tyson Fury, who's 2 inches taller and 40 pounds roughly heavier, if not heavier by the time that the fight actually took place, given the fact that the weigh-in, you normally have kind of not drink, you haven't drunk any water. So once you kind of refuel that water back in your body, you eat some food, that 280 probably jumps back up to 290. And this was one of those fights where it was truly worth the price of admission, because this was truly a spectacle. It was truly a spectacle. The venue was tremendous in Las Vegas. And to me, this fight truly tested the wills of both of these men. The way that they were competing, the pounding that they were taking, the repeated shots to the body, to the head, and the fact that neither one of them acquiesced or gave in, that it went almost the distance to the 11th round is truly commendable. And you can't ask as spectators, you can't ask for two fighters to provide and give you any more than that. You really can't. And there's no disappointment. I'll touch on the actual specifics of the match, of the fight in a moment, but just from an appreciation standpoint, I can't say enough good things about both of these two gentlemen and what they offered us. They poured their life, their blood, sweat, tears out on that ring, and to go 11 rounds, the fact that it was unbelievable watching these huge human beings being knocked to the ground by one another and yet still rising. Deontay Wilder was knocked down 3 times in the 3rd, 4th, and 10th rounds before being finished off in the 11th. He rose 3 times. Tyson Fury got up twice off the mat in the same round in the 4th inning. And yet neither one of them caved. It was almost like you're watching the Walking Dead, the TV show. All these guys keep rising up again, or Jon Snow from Game of Thrones, where you think he's dead like 3 times, and all of a sudden he wakes up and he's still alive. Sorry if I spoiled that for people. The show came out over 2 years ago, so you should have seen it by now. But every single time you're counting him out, the other one gets back up off the mat. The metaphor of it's not about how many times you get knocked down, it's about how many times you get off the mat, works figuratively and literally here in this context. And I was extremely impressed to take those types of poundings. And what was almost, you're almost wanting to shudder and shiver and cover your eyes, because it's almost difficult to watch these guys battle through these beatdowns after beatdown after beatdown. And in a way, I almost found myself at some point rooting for and sympathizing with Deontay Wilder, just because of the sheer magnitude and size of his opponent in Tyson Fury. I mean, to try and see Deontay Wilder standing next to Tyson Fury in the ring on Saturday night. Tyson Fury made Deontay Wilder look small. And I don't think there are any other fighters that could ever have this intimidating presence against Deontay Wilder. I mean, the height difference, the size difference, the weight difference, it was just almost unnerving. But the way that both of these guys competed was impressive. I thought that Wilder was a lot more tactical in his approach this time. He wasn't relying on just the one big punch, kind of the one hammer punch he would normally go to. Was a lot more tactical, a lot more methodical and strategic in his approach. He was utilizing the jab. He attempted and landed a couple uppercuts, took some jabs to the body, didn't always target the head of Fury. And I thought that strategically he came in with a much more pragmatic approach. And he had Fury stumbling a little bit at times, but at the end of the day, the main difference was the endurance. Fury just looked to be in better physical shape. He was able to withstand the pounding a lot more. By the end of it, Deontay Wilder was stumbling. He was woozy. He was wobbling. It looked scary. It almost looked like he was experiencing a certain degree of vertigo, because at times it was like he was just floating around in the ring. His eyes appeared almost shut, and he was just kind of swaying around the ring. It was incredible how he even stood up. And any time that Fury was closing in on him, he would just clutch him and grab him and try and hug him and get the refs to intervene. But that was the problem, is you're in this ring with Tyson Fury, and he's got you on the ropes from the very beginning. And the one thing you can't do against Tyson Fury, you can't hide. There's no way to distance yourself when he's closing in. He occupies so much space in the ring that you seldom see him backed up to a corner. Normally, he's standing right in the middle, and either you're going to come at him or he's going to slowly walk at you. And that's what we saw happen. And he had Wilder against the ropes the majority of the fight. And when he was closing in, you couldn't just help but get extremely worried for Deontay Wilder that could be nights out for him. And so the endurance level was just way better. Fury had more stamina, and the punches that he delivered obviously wore down Wilder a lot more than the punches that Wilder hit and landed. And you look at all the stats, And the reality is Fury was the better fighter. He was the more tactical fighter. He looked like the better fighter. He landed more punches, landed more jabs, landed more shots to the body. The percentages weren't drastically different, and the scorecards were fairly close up until that point, but it still would have been Tyson Fury's fight. And so I was really impressed with him. But again, just have to commend both of these guys because you just saw how gassed and absolutely exhausted and exasperated Wilder and both of these guys were. So again, Fury proved to be the more tactical fighter, but major shout out to Wilder and major shout out for both of these guys for putting on a heck of a show. So much fun to watch. Appreciate them for delivering on what now will go down as an all-time classic, a great trilogy fight in the world of boxing. Absolutely no question about it. But Fury, 11th round, caught him on the side of the head again, and it was game over. 11th round knockout, game over.